we're at a key juncture here, okay? And they fired Napolitano. They fired Buchanan the same week. I've talked to folks at the highest levels of talk radio. They say they're being threatened not to mess with Obama. Rupert Murdoch is being blackmailed. I'm really giving Jerome a briefing here. I'm sure he knows most of this, but I want to get his take on it. The Rupert Murdoch, I told you they would flee England. They're selling their stuff. Talking about selling their new papers, selling their houses. His son has fled. They're in the news today saying he may be indicted here. Obama is using spying and paying off police. That's standard at that level of media, to get news stories. I'm not saying it's good, but that's like a crooked toenail compared to launching wars without congressional approval, shipping guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment, all the rest of the serious crimes. $500 million to an energy company that doesn't exist. All of this is coming out, and the president's got the power of the executive right now, so he can use this. And he's got the NDAA, the power to kill American citizens. And the hit teams can be told, you're sanctioned now. And they got systems to stop your heart, chemicals, sound wave systems that cause your heart to go into cardiac arrest. That's declassified. So Breitbart says, I'm going to release this footage. All of this is coming out, and he dies hours before it does when he says he's going to bring down Obama. And so I happen to know, that's why you're suddenly seeing News Corps. People like Huckabee say Obama's a good Christian, a loving, good man. I've talked to national talk show hosts. Off record, obviously can't tell you the sources, but I was told this months ago. And now I've been confirmed from a separate source. Michael Savage fears for his life, says he's getting death threats. This is internal. And he has bodyguards. And he's now admitted this yesterday, so I can talk about it. He has bodyguards and told Breitbart get some. And is broadcasting from different locations saying they're out to get him. Okay, and he's not a paranoid guy. Love him or hate him, he's a really smart guy. This is real, okay? This is real. This is a putsch going on, an attempted takeover. Now, I've said that. I don't know Dr. Jerome Corsi's take on all this. I've given him a 5-6 minute take on what I see going on. And there's a purge going on. People that are left at News Corps are being told back off. Obama is holding them hostage with threats of indictments for News Corps' activities. Arpaio announces he's going to investigate Obama. He gets SWAT teamed, raided, investigated for civil rights stuff. It's on. It's on. And I don't know what we should do about this because I'm not even aligned with Limbaugh and all these people. But I'm telling you, they're being targeted as well. And I talk to people highest level that know Breitbart very well. And they believe he was killed, off record. Not just Savage and WorldNet Daily saying they think it happened. I've talked to people that know him very well. I'll just leave it at that. And they have said, yeah, he made some people mad. And the word is, this is a message to everybody. Now, I've said it. That's the intro. Dr. Corsi, what's your take on what I just said?
Well, first of all, I've been listening to it intently, and I really am solidly agreeing with about everything you're saying. First of all, I've got solid intelligence that people at Fox are told, for instance, if they ever discuss the birther story, they're off the air. They're done. Don't dare do this. I'm not quite ready to print it yet. Because I had to give the information over to the sheriff's posse. This is information the sheriff's posse has been developing as well. I think the squashing of the birth certificate, the Obama lack of documentation as to who he is a story the White House has sat on, Fox and others, and say, if you do this, you're done. And if the White House turns on a news agency, there's any number of ways they can go. Remember, this is the White House that had Robert Bauer and Anita Dunn in the White House. Anita Dunn and Robert Bauer were married. Robert Bauer was the attorney from Perkins Coie that did all of the defense of Obama on the birth certificate lawsuit. He first worked at Perkins Coie, then when Obama got elected, he brought him from Perkins Coie and put him in the White House as White House counsel. Anita Dunn was his wife. She was in the White House. Anita Dunn was the one who was going public criticizing Fox. Anita Dunn had to finally withdraw. She had to leave the White House because she just was getting too outrageous in her attacks on Fox. And by the way, Robert Bauer left the White House unexplained reasons. They said he was going to work on the campaign. within days of when the long-form birth certificate was released, and I published the news I had, the intelligence I've had on that, is that Bauer knew it was a fake. When they finally released this electronic document at the White House, calling it Obama's birth certificate, Robert Bowers, I believe, said, I'm out of here. I don't want to be involved now what I know is a criminal fraud. So,
now, I want to get back into the birth certificate, and obviously you have the White House responding to you the week before and then doing the whole bin Laden thing. I mean, they're concerned. They wouldn't be doing all of this if it wasn't a big deal. But expanding on that, you have the Kenyan government saying, well, the evidence of his birth has been removed. Well, that's evidence it was there.
Precisely.
I mean, if he was born there, then it would have to be removed. If he wasn't, it wouldn't be there, period. And they said evidence of fraud as you broke, and the White House confirmed that. But let's go back to Andrew Breitbart. I mean, what was he thinking? Saying, I'm going to prove he's hanging out with communists and we got footage and I'm going to release it March 1st. And then he's, I mean, I guess he underestimated just how evil they were. I mean, this just reeks of a killing. And the way they announced that he had died within 2 hours from natural causes, they never do that.
Well, and in fact, if you watched the press conference yesterday from Sheriff Arpaio, I announced at the press conference, the sheriff asked me to, that Breitbart called the sheriff just hours before he died. The two of them had a conversation. Breitbart was interviewing Sheriff Arpaio. I handed the phone to Sheriff Arpaio. We got Breitbart and Sheriff Arpaio together on a landline, and they talked for about 12 or 15 minutes. And so, you know, the fact was that Breitbart knew Arpaio was going to be coming out with a press conference on March 1, and I'm sure I told him it's CPAC. We made the
wait a minute. My gut told me they were connected. It was March 1st, the press conference. He was involved. They knew if Breitbart started going with the birther issue, that would be over for Obama.
Well, and, you know, you had Breitbart and Arpaio talking.
Oh, boy. Well, what do you think about this reported footage? Now they're saying 2 weeks. If it was going to come out yesterday, why would they need 2 weeks now to release it unless there's pressure to redact what's going to be released?
I don't know. I mean, the guys developing the film, I trust. I mean, these are good guys. And I know they have a plan to continue with Breitbart's operation. Solov, who's probably going to end up the CEO, is developing these films, and I don't know what's on these films, Alex. I have no clue what's on these films. I've not seen them.
Well, he gave hints. He said it's Obama and basically in communist meetings.
Well, you know, and these are things I think are going to be very important to see and to get out, because also yesterday, Sheriff Arpaio announced, I guess Mike Zollo, the chief, the lead investigator, and by the way, we just published an e-book on question of ineligibility. Mike Zollo and I releasing a great deal of the information the sheriff is willing to release about the investigation, the Arpaio investigation on, Obama's eligibility, not just the birth certificate, the Selective Service registration card, which is forged, missing records in travel records from the Immigration and Naturalization Service in and out of Hawaii.
That's right.
In the week that Obama was born.
That's right. Explain to people. It's the missing records. It's the proof of cover-up is the proof of guilt.
Yeah, and we just wrote this e-book, question of eligibility, question of eligibility, under my name, Jerome Corsi, and Mike Zollo, D-U-L-L-O. We lay all this out, just like we did at the press conference. Now, your question, I think, is, we've developed, Mike Zollo said at the press conference, this investigation has developed information about Ayers and Obama. That's, again, explosive, and we're getting ready to release that.
Oh, boy. Well, why don't you give us a hint now so they don't Breitbart you?
Well, I mean, look, what I'll do is I'll tell you, once we're ready to release it, I'll come back on your show. We make sure you get it first. We'll publish in WND that day. I'll be on your show and release it to you.
What's the time frame on that? I mean, because whatever you guys are working on, they're scared of it.
I'd say about 10 days. Sheriff Arpaio is going to have another explosive announcement. And I'll be...
Well, how obvious is it when Arpaio started investigating him, 6 months ago, because the state legislature and others, you know, are trying to look at the eligibility, and he's got a big investigative force. It's a big county with Phoenix there. I mean, all of a sudden the feds raid him right after he starts investigating. How obvious is that? They are scared.
Well, you know, what people should realize is that what Sheriff Arpaio has launched here is a game changer. Because, you know, they're done debating. The law enforcement team in the Sheriff Arpaio's office in Phoenix is done debating whether it's this scanner or that scanner or, you know, how many layers. They've developed probable cause. They're not going to debate that evidence with anybody. They developed probable cause. Now, you know, it's down to find suspects and see who actually committed the crimes they've identified.
And it is a crime in that state because Obama's trying to get elected there.
Well, there's you know, several issues. One is the Internet, because these, you know, the birth certificate was put out over the Internet and over television, including Internet television, as well as broadcast and cable TV for the press conference April 27th, 2011 at the White House. And in Arizona, the president has to get on the state ballot. That's a state decision. And the state here in Arizona has to make a determination of birth credentials. Now, you know, if we said there's, it was announced yesterday at the press conference in Phoenix, and I've been working with the investigation to hand over my information. I've agreed that the new information I develop about Obama is going to go to the investigation. So, you know, and again, it's not a Jerry Corsi investigation. These are tough law enforcement guys. They take what I've got, but I don't know all the things they're working on, and I don't vote or deliberate with them. I was not in the room.
Well, I watched his forensics people in the press conference, and they were just, they were totally convinced this was not an act. 100%. They were showing the evidence, and it's just, there it is.
And look, before the posse got the sheriff convinced, they were talking with experts around the world. They're not going to reveal those until they get into a trial setting. On the computer, on, you know, the characteristics of Obama's birth certificate released in the PDF file, on that selective service card. You watch the press conference or read this e-book, because I got all the photographs of the e-book, the question of eligibility. If you take a look at it, they even figured out the date stamp, the post office date stamp that was used to forge Obama's selective service registration card.
Incredible.
And they proved that it was a forgery working in conjunction with former postal officials who were in the post office in 1980, and the two-digit year stamp that was used on Obama's selective service card is a forgery. It was never used officially in the post office. One like that doesn't exist.
Unbelievable. And now we know why they wanted to put an illegal alien basically in there. An illegal is because they can blackmail him. I mean, this is and now this blackmailed puppet is trying to bring down the entire country. And Andrew Breitbart was about to release information, and they killed him better than a hammer. Dr. Jerome Corsi is our guest. Stay with us.